I'm super embarrassed right now, and a little bit scared. Basically, was using a vibrator, without a flared base SMH, and it went entirely into my ass. I can barely feel it when my fingers are all the way in, and I can't feel it through my vagina. I try to push it out that way. I'm terrified of going to the hospital for this. Is there anything I can do? I can't afford that bill. It's really deep and I can't grab it at all. I'm sitting on the toilet hoping my body pushes it out naturally. Edit, I have actually never been to the ER, and have only been in a hospital a few times and not in several years. I feel ridiculous as a grown woman asking this, but what do I do when I go to the hospital? I know park and go in but? I'm kind of confused on where do I go. A, main entrance, or do I go straight to the ER if they have their own? Do I go to a receptionist desk area, or is there another thing I should be doing before that? Should I be concerned that I have to announce to the room basically what I did, or is it more private? Sorry that this is worded poorly and am asking about basic life skills. I have autism and am freaking the fuck out. Edit 2. I am in the ER waiting room, already got the hospital bracelet and everything. I will update again, of course. I appreciate the concern everyone has given me. Edit 3, there will be a longer post breaking everything down properly, but here's what happened. I arrived and it was a bit confusing, but I asked the first person I saw for help. They got me to the ER and I was quickly checked in. In total, I was there for about 12 hours but never felt like I was waiting too particularly long at any point between having blood drawn, general vital stats a few times, registration, X-rays, and seeing multiple doctors and eventually the surgical team. Initially, the vibrator was deep enough that I could graze it with my fingertips. I was able to lightly grab/pinch it, but there was suction holding it there, which is why I couldn't get it out. It moved up deeper into my colon over the course of several hours, going from a weird pressure to a somewhat sharp pain when moving certain ways at the end. Given its depth, they couldn't use tools to remove it in the ER. I was admitted to the hospital at that point, and waited briefly for an operating room. The surgical team explained what they would be doing, putting me under and attempting to manually remove it with forceps, fingers, and massaging my stomach to encourage it to move down. If that didn't work, they planned to put me under deeper anesthesia and go a more surgical route, laparoscopic, through my stomach, to either push it down through my colon manually or remove it straight via the stomach. They let me know that if there was damage, they may need to resect my colon/intestines and I could have a colostomy. They put me under light anesthesia, which relaxed my body enough to shift it down into my sigmoid, from which they removed it manually. No need to cut me. I woke up in the recovery room and was discharged when I was able to pee. All the staff were lovely and very sweet and reassuring, but also very professional. During registration, they went ahead and just applied for the funding/insurance, which will cover me for a year if anything else happens, and my bill, as far as I'm aware, has been taken care of entirely through that. They didn't even need proof of income, which was so nice. Update 1. I will detail everything as clearly as I can for those in this situation in the future. I did a small update on the first post. The background, I have no shame or embarrassment as to how the situation happened. It was a body-safe vibrator about 7 inches long. I have learned the extreme importance of flared bases, as the muscles in your ass are apparently some of the strongest, and an orgasm can cause things to be sucked deeper inside than you would imagine. That being said, upon realizing that the vibrator was inside, I didn't panic ASAP. I've had it happen mildly once before, with a different toy, and I got it out with ease. This time I could insert my entire middle finger to the palm and was barely able to touch it. I started panicking then. I could get the slightest grip, but the curve around the sigmoid, the grip of my organs, and the non-flexible nature of the toy caused it to suction in place, more or less, and become actually stuck. Because it was so deep, trying to move it vaginally didn't work either. I tried many positions, angles, and so on before retreating to the toilet and hoping my body did its thing. After about an hour with it inside of me, I got dressed to head to the emergency room. Emergency room experience. As explained before, I'd never been to a hospital or ER before for treatment, and have rarely seen doctors at all, which made me more anxious. I was also incredibly worried about the bill. With some kind explanation from Redditors before I left, I was mostly able to navigate myself decently, though the entrance to the emergency had been blocked off. I went into the main entrance and went through security, and then immediately asked the first staff I saw for some help. I explained I'd never been there before and didn't know where to go but needed to be seen, and was walked by a nice lady to a shuttle pickup spot to take me to the ER across the campus. They came very quickly and drove me there. It was a little funny to talk about the beauty of the view around the hospital with the sweet old lady driving while I was in this situation. The worst part was reception. They were located immediately inside of the entrance to the ER, so I didn't have to look and find it. I waited in line, and when it was my turn to tell them what I needed to be seen for, I briefly described my problem as having something stuck in my butt. It was only bad because it was very out in the open, though I don't think any around cared about what I was saying. She asked what it was and was very relieved when I told her that it was a normal sex toy. Many other staff and doctors were also relieved finding out that information at various points. It was hilarious. They took some basic information, and then I went to the waiting room where someone came and took my vitals. I was called into a room pretty quickly where nurses took my blood, asked a few questions about the situation, and then I was taken to have my X-rays done. If I can access them, I will add a photo. After X-rays was my longest wait, which was in the results waiting room. They made sure multiple times that I wasn't in pain, and let me know to not drink or eat anything in case of surgery. I was taken to registration, where they went over my identity info and financial arrangements. It was very quick and they didn't ask much, just if I had insurance or not, no, and if I worked full-time, the number of people in my household etc. I forget the exact wording, but she immediately applied for me to be covered under essentially what is the hospital's charity insurance. It will cover this visit entirely as a write-off, and I will be covered with the same program at that hospital for the next year. I did not even have to ask for this. This was done rather early into the visit, which was very nice as I was able to stop worrying about the financial impact that I definitely couldn't afford and put my full attention towards just being treated. I was called back to a patient room a few more times for privacy with doctors as we talked about the situation, and at one point to have the rectal exam to see if they could remove it in the ER. I was very nervous about that as I've never had an exam down there, but it was extremely quick and professional and didn't add any more unpleasantness to my situation, just a very well-lubed finger up my butt. There was only one person in the room, another woman who did the exam. She had me do things during it like cough and bear down like I was giving birth. Unfortunately, the doctor was unable to even touch it at that point, which told her that it had migrated further up into my colon. Its final resting place was shockingly high on your right-hand side, but on the front, belly side, put a finger on the very highest point of your hip bone. Raise your finger about 2 inches higher along your body towards your waist, and right there is where the vibrator was inside my body. The talks with doctors began to quickly involve surgeons at that point. After some more examination and discussion, they made the decision to admit me to the hospital and get me in line for an operating room. I waited a short time for a bed, and was changed into a gown and given plenty of warm blankets when I was transferred. The bed was actually quite comfy. Total time was about 8 hours at this point. The hospital and operation room, there isn't an entire ton about this part, honestly. I waited less than half an hour before they took me to pre-op and explained everything that would be happening once again. They made sure I signed consent forms, etc. The staff at this point were actually hilarious and told me stories about others in my situation. They said it was so common that there were 2 others this week before me, and told stories about light bulbs, glass cups, and so on. The plan for the procedure was to put me under light anesthesia, versed in something else, and to hope my body relaxed enough that they could use stomach massage and manual removal using tools and fingers. If this was impossible, then I would be put under full anesthesia for a laparotomy, small incision on the stomach, to manually move it into the rectum and take it out anally, or at worst they'd have to remove it through the incision. They let me know that while they didn't think there was any based on my symptoms, that this could end in having a bowel resection and colostomy bag as a result of damage to the tissues in my body. Luckily, I did use something body safe and made for sex which helped me to not be injured internally. Regardless, it still could have easily perforated me, or caused tissue death, necrosis by blocking the blood flow with the extreme pressure. Neither of those are good for your digestive system, let alone any organ. I was taken to the operating room and transferred to the bed, strapped in, and so on. The staff was kind and chatted with me, and a nurse held me hand as I fell asleep. I didn't know I even fell asleep until I woke up. The meds are that intense and quick acting. They didn't have me count backwards or anything. After the operating room, and going home, I woke up in the recovery area and was given the news that it went perfectly, and much faster than they expected. My body did 99% of the work for them by relaxing and shifting it down itself, and they just helped it out. They did not give me the option to have the vibrator back, and I didn't ask nor want it anyway. As a result of it being quick, I was lightly sore all over as the anesthetic still needed time to filter out of my body. I was given as much juice as I'd like, and my vitals were taken again. The person there went over my results from everything including my blood work. I found out I need to take a multivitamin but am otherwise seemingly healthy. They said I had to pee before I could leave, and I very quickly did. I was wheeled to the entrance where I was picked up, and was very happy to go home. I had been in the hospital, operating suite for about 4 hours when I left, bringing the total to about 12 hours from the time I got there until I left. As a side note, I was not allowed to drive myself home because of the anesthetic, and had to have someone pick me up, so be prepared for that. Ultimately, I have never been so happy to be able to fart. I'm slightly sore but nothing bad enough to even take Tylenol, though at no point during this was I in genuine pain, though it did get more and more uncomfortable, pressure-esque, feeling inside as it shifted deeper over time. It did entirely cut off my ability to pass gas and have a bowel movement, so I was basically bloated as well. The most pain I felt was around the time they were transferring me to the hospital to wait for the operation. It felt something like period cramps in my colon when I moved. On the staff, 10/10, honestly. From the very first security guard I saw when I walked through the door to the man who wheeled me out to leave, everyone was extremely nice. Everyone was kind, patient, professional, and most importantly to me, they were very human about it. They understood I was embarrassed and anxious, and made it as positive for me as could be. I did make sure to explain that I'd never even been to a hospital before, etc., so they went over things multiple times and in depth with me. I never felt like anyone was judging me, even if a few cracked a few smiles to be fair, even I was laughing about it a little. I was reassured at least 100 times that my situation was very common. Overall, this made me much more comfortable and confident in going and seeking medical care when I need it in the future, and helped me to be much less scared of going to the hospital. It's okay to be afraid, But don't let your fear hurt you. Doctors are there to help, and they did help me. On Redditors, you guys were also amazing. I'm a little miffed that my most upvoted post ever was on my throwaway, but oh well. I hope the attention makes the post easier for others to find. I saw the number of upvotes today and was shocked. Of course it's my ass that goes viral. Smile. Jokes aside, I am genuinely grateful for everyone who commented and messaged me, from to those with advice and jokes to those who just wanted to check in. I am awestruck by the support you all have given me. It made a huge difference. The emphasis on going to the hospital was needed, as otherwise I would have kept trying at home and would have only sought help when it was very painful, or I was actually hurt from it. Now on to second story. Discovered my husband's shocking homophobia when he demanded to cut my kids from my sister, who's been openly gay for years. Me and my husband have been married for 9 years and have a son, 12, and 2 daughters, 8 and 6. I have very demanding job and work long hours, so my sister watches our kids on weekdays because she works from home. The schedule is that I get the kids up and drop them off at my sister's house at 6:30 and then go to work. My sister feeds the kids breakfast and gets them to the bus stop. After school the bus drops the kids off and my sister gives them snacks and helps with homework until my husband picks them up at 5. I get home from work at 6:37. My sister and I are very close and I'm extremely grateful to her. She loves and spoils my kids. She's basically like a third parent to them. I pay for all her groceries and my kids help her around the house in return. On Monday I got an urgent call from my husband after he picked up the kids. He said that I needed to leave work immediately so I could come home to have an emergency discussion with him. I panicked and rushed home because he wasn't answering any of my calls after he hung up. When I got home my husband proceeded to dramatically tell me that my sister was gay. Apparently, when he got to her house her girlfriend was there and they kissed in front of him. I actually laughed when he told me this because my sister has been out since I was a teenager and her girlfriend and her have been together for 3 years. He is claiming that he thought her girlfriend was just her friend and that mentions of her being gay were just jokes. My sister's girlfriend doesn't come to a lot of family events because she travels for work and our family doesn't really talk about her being gay that often. Still I can't believe that he wouldn't have figured this out in the 13 years he's known her. It's been so long that I can't remember if I ever verbally told him that she's gay. My husband said that he doesn't want her around the kids anymore because she will influence them and wouldn't explain what that meant. I told him that I wasn't going to cut my sister out and he said I could still see her but not the kids because they are too young. I asked what the hell he expected to do for childcare if we couldn't use my sister and he suggested I take a week off work while we figure it out, which I absolutely cannot do. I didn't want to yell at him in front of the kids so I said I was going to take a walk to calm down and we would discuss this later. When I got back my daughters were crying and my son was upset. He told me that their father had told them they weren't allowed to see their aunt anymore because she was having personal issues. I blew up at my husband and told him that he was being bigoted and selfish and that I wasn't going to cut my kids off from their aunt who loves them because he was too stupid to notice that she's gay. Then I packed the kids up and went to stay with my sister. I have no idea what to do. I love my husband and I don't want a divorce, but there's no way I'm gonna cut my sister off. I can't believe my husband didn't know she was gay, but I don't know why he would lie about this. He's never said or done anything homophobic before. I know I shouldn't have yelled at him like that, but I was furious that he said that to the kids. Any advice would be appreciated because I'm at a complete loss here. Update 1. After reading the comments I think that unfortunately you guys are right. This is so out of the blue that I was looking for reasons as to why he might not be a bigot, but I think he just is. If it comes down to him or my sister I am choosing my sister. At this point I am so upset with him that I don't know if I would take him back if he came begging on his knees. He said what he said and he can't take that back. To answer some questions, we don't really talk about politics because he doesn't really engage. I will mention something and he'll just respond okay or uh-huh. Our life has been so hectic lately that we don't have a ton of alone time together, and when we do we don't talk about politics. We live in a pretty liberal area and he's never expressed any right-wing beliefs to me before, so I never thought that he had any different views. My sister being gay doesn't come up that much. Her girlfriend isn't around us or our kids a ton, and my sister's sexuality isn't a topic of conversation because it's just something that is. Like she's gay and that's that, so it doesn't really get discussed. I talked to my sister and she said that they don't really interact that much. When he comes to get the kids he will usually just say hello and nothing more. He's been ignoring my calls and texts, so I'm going to go over to our house tomorrow when I know he's home and have a discussion with him. I'll post an update. Thanks for all the advice. Update 2. He wasn't answering any of my calls or texts, so I went over to the house when I knew he'd be there to talk. After we sat down I said that the only way I would even begin to consider working this out was if he gave me the reason why he was suddenly acting like this, agreed to go to couples and individual therapy to work on his hurtful views and apologize to me, the kids and my sister. He started saying all the same stuff about my sister being a bad influence on the kids and not being in line with his moral compass. I got fed up and told him to cut the bullshit right now and tell me what was really going on or I was gonna walk out and he would never see me or his children again. I've never spoken to him like that before and I think it rattled him because he spilled the whole story. Long story short, he's been having an affair for the past year. Now that I think about it, makes sense. I thought that maybe he was pulling away from me, but I figured it was just stress from work and kids. He admitted that when he had to go into the office on weekends it was just an excuse to see her. Sometimes he would take a half day at work to go and be with her until it's time for him to pick up the kids. In his words, he was neutral about my sister being gay until his girlfriend opened his eyes. Apparently when he mentioned my sister to her she was shocked and started sending him lots of podcasts and YouTube videos on the subject. So for the past year he's been falling down a right-wing rabbit hole and I had no idea. He said that he knew I wouldn't accept his new beliefs so he was forced to hide it from me. He also admitted that he's been wanting a divorce for a while and not just because of the affair. After watching the videos and podcasts he started to resent me because I'm not a traditional wife who stays at home to cook, clean and take care of the kids so that he can relax after work. He said that seeing my sister kiss her girlfriend was the final straw because he realized the extent what his children were being exposed to. So he pretended to not know about it and made it this giant issue. In his mind this was the perfect solution because he could finally make me see things his way and become a stay-at-home mom, or I would divorce him and he could come away looking like the good guy. Then he said he's going for full custody to protect his kids. I'm not super proud of it, but I flipped out at him. I called him a lot of names and told him that it'd be a cold day in hell before he even got 50-50 custody. I said if he wants to talk to me again he'll have to contact my lawyer. Then I stormed out before I could smack him or something. In all honesty, this is a total nightmare and I feel like I'm partially to blame. 13 years together and I didn't notice he was changing overnight. I didn't think he was the type get sucked into this sort of thing, but I guess he's stupider than I thought. I also never expected him to be a cheater either, so maybe I didn't know him as well as I thought I did. On the other hand, the comments on my last post have made me do some thinking and I realized I was not very happy in our marriage. A lot of people were asking what we even talk about and the honest answer is we don't. We started dating when I was 19 and he was my second ever boyfriend. About a year and I remember I was feeling unsure about our relationship and then bam. I got pregnant with our son. It all happened so fast too. He proposed to me and I said yes. We had never discussed marriage before and looking back I'm pretty sure I would have said no if I wasn't pregnant. We had a long engagement but we were basically married right after because I moved in with him immediately to raise our son. God, I feel so stupid. I think I was pretty naive at the start of our relationship. I never thought to have any in-depth conversations about politics, family and religion. I'm realizing now that I was mostly staying in the marriage because it felt easier than the alternative and better for my kids. I genuinely thought he was a good man and father. Now I'm remembering tons of different moments in our relationship that I brushed off and fights we had that all add up to a bigger picture. I think part of why I've been so frazzled and exhausted lately is because he was literally doing the bare minimum and leaving me and my sister to pick up the slack. I don't regret the marriage because it led to my kids, but I regret not seeing everything sooner and getting out. Right now my kids are my #1 priority. When I got back I sat them down and we had a long conversation about their father, his views and LGBT rights in general. I made it very clear that I would support them no matter what. I am also looking at getting all 3 of them in counseling to help them deal with this. We are temporarily staying with my sister while I sort out the divorce. We have separate bank accounts but I need to figure out how to sell the house because I don't think I can afford it alone and he definitely can't. There are some townhomes opening up in my sister's neighborhood that I'm gonna try for so my kids can walk to her house. My sister has been so supportive during this entire ordeal. She and I had a long talk about everything with lots of hugging and crying. I feel awful for bringing a bigot around her and I don't think I can ever repay her for all of the help and love she has given me and my children. She and her girlfriend have been helping out with the kids and the divorce stuff. Since her girlfriend is currently in town I decided that I wanted me and kids to get to know her better, so this weekend we are all going to the museum and hopefully take my kids' minds off everything. What I'm most worried about is custody. I don't want my soon-to-be ex-husband and his girlfriend anywhere near my kids, but I'm not totally sure what to do. He's still their father and I don't want to keep them from having a relationship. I'm going for full custody, but should I ban him from seeing them entirely? My son and older daughter are very upset with him. My son doesn't want to see him at all and I'm not going to make him if he doesn't want to.